Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and welcome to 2022, where we're doing our first video here in my basement of the Vermibag Max. So I have had some issues with this bag in the past with fruit flies, and I still have that issue. I opened it before I started filming this just to make sure I could vacuum out all those fruit flies so I wouldn't have to do it while you were watching. And there were some fruit flies still in there. It's not nearly as bad as it was at one point, but there's still that perpetual breeding ground of fruit flies coming out, but I'm still not going to stop feeding it. We're just going to continue to put food in here. We're going to continue to get this moving, and eventually I'm hoping that this issue will sort of take care of itself as we can really bury that food deep enough where they can't get to it. And we'll see how it goes from there, but that's the best I can do. I don't really want to stop feeding it again or load it up with paper. That didn't seem to work this last time, but it's the only bin that I really have that has fruit flies left in it. And I will say that because of the bag system with the zippers on the top, it really does contain them. And they get out when I open it a little bit, but they get killed pretty quickly. I've got my bug zapper over there, and I've got some fruit fly tape down in the basement. My bigger issue is the fact that I have fungus gnats somewhere in here, and I cannot find them. I can't figure out where they're coming from. They're not in any of my bins as far as I can tell, but I am constantly having them die on my bug zapper. So I'll have to figure that out at some point. But just to go back to the Vermibag Max, we do have the fruit flies in there, but we're going to continue with these large feedings and go from there and see how they can do. So with that, let's go take a look at the bag. All right, here we are at the Vermibag Max. We're going to open this up here. There still might be some fruit flies that are going to climb out, like right there. There are a couple that are going to escape. It's just what happens with this system. It's not overly great, but it's not overly bad. Quite a few dead ones in here. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but there's quite a few in there. Does still have a vinegar odor, so we'll just leave that off to the side for now. It's been sitting on top of here, so the bottom's not dirty, which is sort of nice. Now we're going to go ahead and take off the top, and look at this. Look at this system. So first off, a couple worms here on this part right here. As you can see, one right there, a couple up here. So we're going to move this off to the side. We're not going to take the worms off. We'll just leave them on there. They'll be put back in when we cover it back up, which we're going to do. And let's start digging in here and take a look. It looks like this top, it looks like the material is really starting to get worked through, and it probably needs a harvest from the bottom. I'm not going to do it today, but let's just dig in here a little bit and see how these worms look. And you can see already, I mean, coffee grounds over here, and you can just see lots of worms in here. They're doing a great job of working on this material. Still has some cardboard in here. But look at this. You can see that they're over on this side. They're working through these coffee grounds right now, and they're loving them. You just see all the worms that are in these coffee grounds. And there's a lot of pot worms in there too. This might be a little bit too high up so you can't see. Just get the lights a little bit more flush there. There we go. But there's some pot worms in there as well. This happens with coffee grounds, I find. You know, it takes them a while to kind of get in there, get some acidity from the coffee grounds, but they're really working on this stuff. Surprisingly, even after, you know, almost 30 days since my last update, there's still just a lot of worms working at this stuff. I can't tell what this even is, but this is a piece of something in here that is maybe a banana peel? I'm not even sure. Oh, you know what? I think this is a grape stem. This is a grape stem right here that they are working on. And you can just see there's a ton of worms on here. So they're working through that as well. That'll take a long time to break down. But you can just see there's a lot of worms in here. They're working through this material, but they are taking their time, and it takes a while for them to break down, especially these coffee grounds. So we're going to just kind of cover that back up. This is going to be a pretty quick update, I have a feeling, because with that, we're going to just go ahead and throw this all back over there. And I'm not really taking care to bury things very well or anything like that, but we're going to dig over here now and just see if there's anything on this side. This side feels fairly solid. Got shells. We got some worms over here too. There's some piece of fabric. So we have a piece of fabric over here that they're working their way through. But let's just dig down in here. You can tell this material is pretty solid. Now, I had somebody say, like, you know, how can you tell if it's, oh, hold on, let me pull out this piece of plastic. That happens. How can, like, there's times where my material looks like this and I'm still adding water. Now this is damp, but it's a dry damp. As you can tell, it's crumbling apart. When I really don't want to add more water is when it's muddy, like it's sticky, like, you know, you just, if I were to get this soaking wet and then try to do anything, it just would clump up and wouldn't fall apart at all. And that's when you do not want to add water. So yes, it's a little bit compact at the bottom, but it's not muddy. So I don't know if we really need to add a lot of water to this today, but I could easily add water. Even though it's a little sticky at the bottom, it's still just, I mean, look at that, it just flakes right apart in my hands. And that means that's a sign that it's not too damp. So, and there's worms all through the system, it looks like. It looks like they're moving through the different sections of it, which is a good sign. You know, even down here we can see some worms. So they're doing a good job of working through this. So we're going to kind of cover this side up over here, dig down, and we're going to add in a big feeding just as we have like almost every single time. There's some coffee grounds right there. Those coffee grounds do take a while to break down. So I have a mixture of food this time. We're just going to scrape the edges of this bag a little bit here, loosen up all the soil. Now the first thing we're going to add is something that's dry. And instead of adding paper this time, I actually have some corn on the cob that I've had sitting in my basement now for a while. I should say the husk of it. It's not the corn on the cob itself, just the husk. It's dried out. It's been sitting here for a while. There we go. I think I got it all. And now we can push this down. This is a bedding material, really. It's a nice dry material though, which is going to be good because what we're going to do now is we're going to put on one piece of food right now that is not frozen. This has not been frozen at all, but it's some spinach that went bad before we could finish it all. Does not smell great either, but just going to empty this out in here. There's not much of this here. So we are going to add now next our large feeding like we've been doing. So, and again, we're going to be adding, let me get this here so I can open it up, our banana peels, coffee grounds, apples. Looks like there's some broccoli maybe in the bottom. This is frozen. There we go. Got most of it out. Carrots. So we got some carrots in here too. Some carrot pieces. So this is a good variety of food. Now, and just so we can see here, we got the banana peels. We've got coffee grounds and the coffee ground wrappers. More banana peels. Coffee grounds, spinach. We've got our apples, some carrots, and then, I'm not sure if you can see this stuff right here. This is tea. So I think I've mentioned it before in my videos, but I've been drinking a lot of tea lately, and I've really switched over from drinking coffee. So my wife still has coffee. I've been switching to tea, so we're getting a variety of food in that way. Oh, we've got some Brussels sprout tops in here as well. So just a wide variety of food. This is all frozen, so it should be bug-free. We're going to just kind of bury this on this side a little bit. Push it down. Kind of mash it in here a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on some crushed crab and eggshell. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but every time I put this on, I always try to link to the video up top so you guys can see how I do that. I've one video for crab and one video for eggshells on how to process them for your bins. And these have served, I think, very well for adding that grit that the worms need. Now, the last thing I'm going to add on here is a little bit of cardboard on top, and this is just a protection for the worms, as always, so that way they're not just thrust right under this cold material directly. And we're not adding a lot, just a little bit on here. Just enough to add some protection. And then what we're going to do is we're going to really cover this up well. So, really cover that up. This is a piece of pumpkin right there. Another piece of plastic. Really got to make sure when I go through my shredding stuff, I check for plastic a little better. I'm still finding that in bins every once in a while. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure where it came from, really. It's usually so careful. And most of this stuff now I shred as cardboard or specific stuff I've looked at to make sure there's no plastic in it. So I'm not sure how that's popping up in here, but I also don't know if that just rises to the surface naturally from the worms moving stuff around, something they don't want. They just keep pushing it upward or something, but it does seem like that happens frequently with stuff that they don't like. It ends up on the surface. So there we go. We've got that in there now. Still have these bones in there. I've just been leaving. Actually, we'll take the bones out too. Those are not going anywhere. So here's avocado seed. Break that apart. Look at that. It's nice and soft. Bury that down in there too. As I said, I'm not gonna add anything that's really going to a whole lot of paper or anything like that. We're adding very little. We're not going to add anything to, we're not going to add any water either, I think this time. I think it's moist enough, and with the extra moisture, it'll be okay. But with that, we do need to put on our piece of plastic back on the top. I do like these, especially during the winter. It's necessary for me to have one of these on here, otherwise this sort of thing would just dry out insanely, and I have to add water every day. And then we're going to put on our little cup there. Next time I'll add water. This time I'm just going to leave it a little bit more dry, and then I think I'm going to harvest next time, which is why I'm not putting on too much water. I want to make sure that the bottom dries out as much as possible before I remove that, couple inches on the bottom. If I remove 6 inches, I don't want it to be very wet or really compact because it's wet. I'd rather it dry out a little bit and kind of be a little bit loose. So we're going to let it dry out by not adding water this time, and we'll come back in a little bit and maybe in a couple weeks and maybe do a harvest from the bottom and then maybe add some more food. So that's my update. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. And remember, I do have links to purchase this item along with any of the other items that you see. A lot of the items in my video you can actually purchase online from Amazon, and I have links in there, or from Vermibag itself. So thank you for watching.